It is great to see American machines helping to promote peace and freedom abroad.
We have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Excuse me for this. I'm so sorry. Such a terrible mistake. The fake news will say he accidentally said, no. There's no accidents with me, not too many. If there were, we'd have a major story.
Yes, Trump, ever the clown, ever the troll, ever the master line deliverer. Have you ever seen such blatant baiting of a country you're supposed to be making a peace deal with? Only Trump can do this. There will never be another. The ongoing escalation narrative is an AI-driven battle management system theme that is aimed at the EU and China, not Iran. India is also in the crossfire, as is much of Asia, but Australia and its massive gas reserves are signing deals left and right, so don't panic too much. Yet. So, please get this from the first minute of this video. This war in Iran is a war on the City of London, European Union, and their subsidiary China. Nothing more and nothing less.
Argue the middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. But I'd also say that great powers can afford for now to go it alone. They have the market size, the military capacity, and the leverage to dictate terms. Middle powers do not.
In lieu of the London central banker's statement, Mark Carney, Trump refuted him thus.
Then, epic fury began. Within the first 72 hours, over 1,700 targets were hit.
I'm sorry, Mark, it's hard for a London central banker to take it, but you are definitely on the menu. I know it's hard to confess, it's hard to take from a 6'4" orange clown, but you lack aircraft carrier battle groups, and the United States doesn't. But these are the last gasps of the globalist London central banker class. Be happy. Watch the start of this Deutsche television segment. I previously discussed in videos how the Islamic Republic of Iran got started. The whole theme from the 1970s, including the assassination of King Faisal to be replaced by Wahhabist lunatics, to be arguably replaced by Shia Islamic lunatics, although they're not all lunatics. This was all funded by the UK, City of London, German, Swiss, and French banks, Evelyn David de Rothschild. To make the point, watch the start of this Deutsche television segment, newly released, explaining the last gasp, that's a quote, of the EU City of London-led globalisation push.
Global trade is shifting and new alliances are being formed.
After decades of stop-start talks, Europe has been on a deal-signing spree, inking mammoth pacts with major powers. Take a look. For decades, new EU trade agreements cropped up gradually as the bloc looked beyond its borders. But here's the turning point. In 2025 and 2026, the EU secured long-stalled deals with some of the world's biggest economies, from Asia to South America. This is a story of how the world recalibrates when the US goes rogue.
A big thank to President Trump. He scared a lot of European countries.
And the race to rely less on China.
Então essa região, ela é bem especial geologicamente falando.
It's also about Europe's quest to claw back geopolitical clout in a world of rivalry.
Maybe sometimes it takes us longer, but we always respect the agreements.
And that competition for influence is flipping some past power dynamics.
I think the European Union is gradually understanding this new reality.
Developing countries are right to point out this hypocrisy and now are rightly asking for something in return.
But are these new partnerships a genuine boost to multilateralism or just globalization's last gasps?
And will internal divisions see Europe's trade ambitions go up in smoke?
We've seen the heavy political presence.
Do you now understand the background to this exchange of missiles in Iran and the Gulf? Do you now understand the Keir Starmer and Mark Carney London central banker visit to Xi in China, loudly proclaiming if they, in quotation marks, did not force a seat at the table, they would be on the menu? This series of events took place in January 2026. Both men visited Beijing separately in early January before Carney's statements in Davos.
Argue the middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
Remember at this same Davos meeting, Vice President J.D. Vance delivered stinging remarks to the EU. Trump had stated in early 2025 that the EU was created to solely screw the United States.
The European Union's it was formed in order to screw the United States. I mean, look, let's be honest.
The confidence with which Carney dictates his little personal world order should tell you he is not talking from a Canadian perspective, totally and laughably dependent on the United States economy, as is Mexico and the rest of the world. He is talking desperately, but with a confident twang, from a London central banker perspective, not a Canadian one. It's a London central banker perspective. Cocky, arrogant, but he knows something.
In cyber is a real domain of power.
In that, Carney should be taken out as swiftly as an IRGC general. That is the true enemy of us all, including Iranians and Israelis. When are we going to get that? After all the January 2026 smack talk from the EU and City of London, the Trump administration moved to remove the EU Rothschild-created theocratic Republic of Iran. And the Swiss and EU in general are having a fit, as their 1979 Kissinger and Associates creation is removed, depriving them of their greater Israel leverage machine against Sunni Islam and pan-Arab nationalism. But what will remain? Bringing Iran into the sphere of US influence and investment is the goal. I just hope they don't break the ancient ceramic treasures and 5,000-year-old history along the way. It is America, after all, not known for subtlety. It is reported that the Iranian youth are lining up to join the IRGC to defend Kharg Island. If true, the United States Marine Corps will ably assist them on their way to paradise in unfortunate and tragic short order. I'd call it child abuse, and not the first time it's been done in Iran. Remember back to the war in Iraq when teenage schoolboys were sent to run over mines. This is not propaganda. They actually did that.
که عراق در محورهای مختلف میکاره تا به حال خنثی کردید و آیا مین کاشتید برای محور خودمون.
We are told again and again that a ground war and boots on the ground will result in American mass casualties and a poor approval rating to an American president who looks at polls 15 to 17 times per day. This is apparently what is happening right now. Marine expeditionary units draw closer to the Straits of Hormuz. It looks cast in stone, boots on the ground, but is it? Let's go over some past feints used by the Pentagon to sow disinformation amongst the enemy. An enemy that includes a hostile American local population scared to death by Tucker Carlson that World War III and mass casualties are surely on the way. I remember the first Gulf War, 1990. It was said a Marine expeditionary force would land on the beaches of Kuwait and run up the middle of Iraq. It was all a lie. An elaborate lie, which included fake communications, fake movements of Marine assets, and endless analysis on Fox News about this historical landing, not seen since D-Day. Of course, it was never happening.
This morning, we were also attacking some patrol craft, and at last report, we had damaged 3 or 4. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the readiness of our amphibious forces. We have very large amphibious forces over here, and they are continually training and ready to do the job when called upon to do so.
But it appeared to have suckered in Baghdad Bob and the Iraqi top commanders. So that should be our first response to all this boots-on-the-ground talk. Exactly that, talk. And Trump loves to talk. All this talk not only guarantees a steady sale of coffee mugs and discounted Patriot coffee grinds, it also keeps the news cycle busy and creates the air of intense, democratic, multipolar political discourse within the United States and the world. Remember Adam Curtis on the role of destabilized perception.
The underlying aim, Surkov said, was not to win the war, but to use the conflict to create a constant state of destabilized perception in order to manage and control.
So much of the news this year has been hopeless, depressing, and above all, confusing. To which the only response is, oh dear. It sums up the strange mood of our time, where nothing really makes any coherent sense. We live with a constant vaudeville of contradictory stories that makes it impossible for any real opposition to emerge, because they can't counter it with a coherent narrative of their own. And it means that we as individuals become ever more powerless, unable to challenge anything, because we live in a state of confusion and uncertainty. To which the response is,
don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here.
I have to ask you, are you feeling destabilized? I sure am. Keeping up with this is freaking like a marathon. No one is meant to win the debate war or dominate it. The role of endless speculative and polarizing and terrifying scenarios and opinion is to generate heat. The heat hits the watery populace, and the combustion creates steam that drives the turbine of hypnotic, never-ending, gasping news headlines designed to demoralize and confuse, not politically enlighten the peasants.
To open up the Strait of Hormuz.
If the political and social discourse reminds you of the spectacle of a world wrestling event, filled with never-ending villains and good guys, flashing lights, explosions, and overly emotional tropes and World War III speculation, then you would be right to notice, because that is exactly what it is. Spectacle. Someone call Ari Emanuel. Please understand, to a very large degree, at least strategically, big picture, everything is going exactly as planned. This was never meant to be a short war, though it could have been. I have no doubt the Iranian elite were on their Swiss banker-funded knees begging for a deal within a New York minute of losing 40 of their top leadership. But why let a good crisis go to waste? So much leverage to gain over so many identifiable groups, mostly in Europe and China. From the EU socialist Hoofjuden in Brussels, who rely on a meaningful amount of Iranian and Arab oil and gas to leverage over China and India in upcoming talks, to a raised oil price supporting the US dollar, to massive increased sales of US oil and gas to customers, to allowing Russia to rebuild its cash reserves and rearm and regroup to keep the Eurasian landmass threat against the EU happening, to increased arms sales to the Gulf states, always a good one, to taking out the City of London's creation, theocratic Iran, which has been threatening the Arab Sunni world with both nuclear weapons and Hezbollah as an Israeli leverage to make the Abraham Accords happen, and on and on. I'm amazed the geopolitical experts haven't told you about these bright backends to US power. All the while, it is presented as a national catastrophe in the making. I beg to differ. I give an occupation of Kharg Island a 30% chance of happening. Look for China talk breakthroughs before there is any meaningful opening of the Straits of Hormuz. It's a game of political leverage, not checkers. What would be the benefits of the US permanently occupying Kharg Island? Apart from direct control over the straits and a new permanent base in the region to wield unending direct leverage over oil and gas exports to India and China and the world, there are other back ends which may be geopolitical front ends. As a reminder, India is a new key player on the new American-led grand chessboard and has a habit of lining up with Russia and the EU on a regular basis. They need to know who the boss is in the new IMEC project to replace the Belt and Road. India, Middle East, European corridor. China cannot be totally replaced, at least not right now, and the severing of US reliance on Chinese supply chain is more of a remodeling and de-risking than a shut-off. This is always the great worry. Supply chain cut-off, supply chain difficulties, hyperinflation. That is the worry. Anyone who can't talk about that, just ignore them. They're full of garbage. All of these events, including the Ukraine war, are highly managed world events. Local and international populations are being managed, politicians are being managed, financiers are being managed, news outlets are being managed, expectations are being managed. It's all about management, baby, and the Pentagon knows exactly what it is doing, even if led by a Jack Daniels swilling halfwit, although give him credit, he does deliver his lines well at the Department of War. The old media stars can balk and talk all day. It's like protesting. Makes the participant feel better about themselves. Starbucks makes a fortune on spicy pumpkin lattes for post-revolutionary debriefs. Hot air is released, which never makes contact with water, to make steam to drive a turbine that generates grassroots political energy. Only half-witted fools protest. Grown adults engage in politics, penetrate political movements, attend Republican meetings, bypass filters, and speak in a language that breaks down intellectual resistance to new concepts that result in concrete new directions.
Yeah. Well, I got some pretty important information for you. That? It's about Israel.
Okay, what about it?
The Israeli press has been warning us about this Russian penetration of Israel. We've got files KGB infiltrated Israel at the highest levels.
Oh, wow.
And all of our tech companies are being infiltrated by Israeli military intelligence. So check this out.
I love Israel.
Because this
further benefits to occupying Kharg Island are getting rid of an alpha male segment of the Iranian population to cull, manage and placate a potentially volatile Iranian herd in the post-war rebuilding period. We hope that's not going to happen. But it will be on someone's mind. Amongst the rural poor and large segments of the clerical intelligentsia, which includes the IRGC, a large, highly motivated following exists. It cannot be ignored. While the majority of Iranians want the clerical establishment gone as it's so filthily corrupt, they are also highly sensitive about being blown back to the Stone Age and, above all, humiliated. So could someone tell Trump to, tone down the trolling? Iranians call themselves Persians and delight in their long and deep 5,000 years plus of continuous history. An occupation of their land and direct control over their economic future may be a little too hard to take for even a moderate Iranian. Well, the Pentagon planners may well have a final solution to that. Get as many Iranians as possible to sign up to fight and die to defend their honor. I'm sure the Lockheed AI battle management system has spat out a final solution scenario for that. An occupation of Kharg Island would not only prolong things, but invite Iranian nationalist elements to put their heads above the parapet where they can be kindly removed from the political and social landscape. The potential counterinsurgency problem can be dealt with in large part during ongoing high-tempo operations rather than dealing with it in the streets of Tehran. The stability of a future Iranian government will require a quietened herd who can learn to code instead of learning to kill. Maybe one day, with luck, the ultimate invasion of a Middle East country can take place, right on the beaches of Moscow on the Mediterranean, Tel Aviv. This may be good practice. Don't think it is so far-fetched. Well, you've got all those marine expeditionary units in the region. It's not too far up the Suez Canal to land on the beaches of Tel Aviv, don't you think? What would have been a Trump administration worst nightmare? The immediate capitulation and agreeing to a nuclear deal by Iran. That was a Trump administration worst-case scenario. I'm reminded of that first Gulf War again. The recorded greatest fear of the then H.W. Bush administration was that Saddam would agree to the UN resolution and remove all Iraqi forces from Kuwait before the US had a chance to destroy his army in place. And so we have that same scenario here in Iran. Apparently, the Ayatollah never watched the History Channel. And now, with Iran firing a 4,000-kilometre range missile at a US base in the Pacific, the EU is being taunted by Trump and Hegseth. I assure you, the United States ordered the Iranians to fire that missile. Iran has been a proxy, just like the Israeli state is a proxy, for the EU City of London Grand Chessboard Club. Hezbollah. Oh, those freedom fighters. Don't get me wrong, the young males have been killed and betrayed, but their leaders, with their Swiss bank accounts and their little turbans, with their beautiful little beards as they shook their fists, they were providing visuals for Bibi with Hitler salutes and all the other antics on cue every time an indictment came up. And now it is over. The cleanup begins. While the Iranian clerics are half-wits and are always good for a good flag burning and street stomping, the serious people who handle the money will rule. They always rule. They're not suicidal. They follow orders. And the IRGC are up to their necks in it and with all their Swiss bank accounts. Please, the role of French, German and Swiss banks is absolutely central to Iran. You only have to be there 5 minutes, and I've been there to see it. And the influence Germany and Switzerland truly have over the country. It is without doubt an interesting time, and the master of the insult is in full troll swing. Does that sound like a commander-in-chief in search of a deal? Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. Vatican Blessed bathrobes and BB Twick Twampy coffee mugs and t-shirts available soon. Now for a bigger overview. I've got my button-up shirt on. Let us attend for further analysis.
In cyber is a real domain of power. In cyber is a real domain of power.
Wow, what a crazy 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry I've taken so long. I have been struggling with the flu, but I'm finally on top of it. The introduction is actually a few days old. I didn't see any need to change it. Let me give you not the tactical details, the big picture. This war is going perfectly. It is going perfectly planned. It is not perfect when you're sitting under a bomb in Tehran or Isfahan or on the Strait of Hormuz. No, it's not fun. It's not fun if you're a girls' school, and it looks like that elementary girls' school was real. And we'll talk about why Iran has said so little about it. They're all in the bag. This is a war between America and the European Union, City of London. China is not an operating entity. Israel is not an operating entity. They are operating entities of the City of London, the Hofjuden, the court Jews of Europe, the mix of the old royal courts of Europe, the old families, the old Viennese families, filthy rich still to this day, those old 13 families, still with their hands and their fingers and their little claws down into the colonies, desperately trying to claw back that crown corporate, get the world under control, World Economic Forum, still trying, as Mark Carney said, to get a seat at the table when in fact they are on the menu and they know it. Iran was in the bag before the first bomb ever dropped. That's why they're not pushing hard on the elementary school. They're not using the propaganda. 20 ships are already going through under Pakistan. This is a highly controlled event. As I said, it will be highly controlled. I thought it would end much sooner, but clearly not. They're just going on, and the reporting is incredible. We need to quickly touch base on a couple of things before moving on. It's all related, and I wanted to mention this, of course. This is the biggie. Thank you for the link for this. Thank you, people. I rely on you. The Times of Israel, March the 29, 2026. One of the most important tells, otherwise known as a clue. A clue, ladies and gentlemen. Israel, I just want to say that I've received, I've got a lot of detractors. For a guy with such a small audience, you wouldn't believe how many detractors I have, because half of them work at the Pentagon, but that's all right, or half of them work at the Lockheed Fusion Centers. They get very upset because I won't join Heritage and take the money. Or the cross promotion. They're too stingy. Bunch of Jews, what do you expect? Hey, I'm just kidding. Kind of. Most of them are Catholics, actually. Israel set to invite US to move some Middle East bases to country and establish new ones. Wow. Wow. What did I say back in 2020?
And if you watch my channel, you will understand how vital that data is for the future of artificial intelligence and robotics. The Middle East is not a vital geopolitical point for energy anymore. That system is being dismantled right now. The Middle East is a vital point for the new oil, data, real-time data, to feed the AI quantum supercomputer that is going to change everything. Understand, if we free the United States, we free the world. The bankers are the enemy. The predatory international borderless loan sharks. The people who stole $5 trillion from the US economy and paid themselves bonuses back in 2008. Where did that $5 trillion go? Ask the damn question. Where did it go? It didn't disappear. It was transferred. What do you think is paying for the Belt and Road? We need to protect the United States from socio-economic implosion. We need to keep the US military-industrial complex high-tech sector strong. We need to cut off Israel, Russia and China from high technology. High technology that Israel is constantly stealing out of the United States. A technology sector that is being transferred from the US to Israel, just as US manufacturing and heavy industry was transferred to Asia and in particular China. We must bring the supply chain to Mexico, Central and South America. We must return the power to print money or issue crypto to the objective economic data based on transparent government policy. We must protect the allies of the United States from Rothschild's bastard sons. We must create new social policies that encourage and even demand citizen participation in the political decision-making process. We must issue new school curriculums that teach real history. The history of the great conspiratorial banking occult program to enslave the entire planet under a highly complex, tyrannical Big Brother surveillance system. We must instigate policies that limit the speed of technological innovation to take into account human beings, their hopes, their dreams, their right to exist. The freight train rushing towards us of artificial intelligence and robotics must be immediately blunted with firm policy and rational community discussion. And one final thing. Sounds a bit extreme, but I'm being deadly serious. Immediately land 2 Marine divisions in occupied Palestine. Eject all of the Jewish extremist settler movement back to Russia. Disarm the Israeli state and create a secular government with equal representation for Jews, Christians and Muslims. Dismantle the Israeli military-industrial complex and high-technology sector and transport it all back to the United States. Let's cease letting them direct the debate. There are people in high places supporting us. They will act and move quietly according to the public mood, so get moody in all the right ways and in all the right places. Focus your information energies on the United States military, the men and women with the guns and the lawful authority to use them. We have 10 years before we face autonomous killing machines on our streets. Let's get moving.
I made that video in March 2020 at Hotel Rinconada in Taquiscopan, Mexico, in the state of Querétaro. 6 years ago. Of course, what's really so fascinating with all these bases is this Globes article from, the date is 26th of January 2026. US tech park in Negev may have nuclear power plant. Why does this tech park, this US base, need a nuclear power plant? Because it's going to be a giant AI Antichrist supercomputer area. In discussions on an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, for a US-administered technology park, the possibility was raised of a nuclear reactor to supply its huge energy demands. Can you imagine how big this is going to be? This is what I talk about, the AI Antichrist. We're going to talk about it in a second. Israel and the US have reached understandings on the construction of a large technological park in the south of the country as part of a strategic cooperation agreement on AI signed in Jerusalem this month. The Memorandum of Understanding, signed by the head of the National AI Directorate, Brigadier General Yerez Eskel, and the U.S. Undersecretary of State for Economic Affairs, Jacob Hellberg, that's the Pax Silica, reveals an ambitious plan to allocate 4,000 acres to the U.S. The park, which will be constructed in the Negev or in the Gaza Strip border area, or in the Gaza Strip border area, will be called Fort Foundry 1. Remember all these people laughing at me about this? Remember, everybody? Under the Memorandum of Understanding, the text of which has reached Globes, Israel will grant the US a 99-year lease. They never do this. Never, ever, ever, ever do they allow a 99-year lease, which means you have complete control on the land. Although the area will remain under Israeli sovereignty, day-to-day running will be by the US, which will provide most of the investment. US and Israeli technology companies will work side by side in the park with the aim of setting up a global center, not just for chip production or advanced computing. It's AI development, and then they want a nuclear power plant. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm talking about. This is what part of taking out Iran is at this stage. The US will be completely moving in and dominating the Middle East. Israel is set to invite the United States to relocate some of its bases in the region to Israel and to establish new bases in the country. After the current war is over, Channel 12 reports, citing unnamed security sources. The security establishment sees an opportunity to reshape the map of US military positioning in the Middle East. The reporter says, given that US forces are already present here now, and in light of evolving security challenges, yes, remember the security challenges, Jerusalem Post? Oh, with Iran go, maybe we'll have to take on Saudi and Turkey. I said, wait a minute, aren't you signing the Abraham Accords? They know what's coming. I told you, Iran has been maintained by the same European Union-based banking and financial class, Rothschild, keeping it simple, who have funded and coddled Israel, who have manipulated, assassinated King Faisal, got rid of the Shah, blah, blah, blah. They've been running Iran the whole time, supplying it with billions of dollars of euros, making sure all the smuggling routes through Turkey and across the Caspian Sea are working. It's all come out of the European Union. It's being taken out as we speak. So this is the Donro doctrine for the Middle East, the Oded Don plan. Quote, we have proved our values of late as a central ally of the United States, one that provides not only stability, but also significant operational and intelligence capabilities. The report quotes an Israeli source as saying, American bases in Israel would create a strategic advantage for both sides. Wow, 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 wow. And did I say wow? Gaza. I rode in 2012 with a badly broken arm. My arm was up like this with a displaced fracture of my ulna, and I was one finger typing in maximum security Albany Regional Prison. And I wrote this. Now, please forgive me, but it needs to be raised again. I do want to rub people's noses in poo. This is a very large document. Again, let me show you it. Let me show you this document. It's very large. You can print it out and keep a hard copy. And the electronic version is very, very easy to navigate. You can click all over it. This is what I wrote about Israel's role in the coming AI. That's what those bases are for, to control the region, but not just that. It's also about making sure that Israel has total control over the new emerging central AI fiber optic cables, which have already been built. Google's running them, amongst many others, and they want full control, especially to do with the National Defense Authorization Act, to do with, to do with Pax Silica. Now, I've had a little bit of a rethink about Pax Silica, just a little bit. Again, it's a cover-up for the infiltration, the greatest espionage case in history. The Israelis, the City of London and their network, whether it's China, Israel, Russia, whoever, they're all inside the United States and indeed around the world. So these industrial controller chips and programmable logic chips are all through the system already, Australia included, everywhere. What this is they are formalizing it to sort of say, no, this is this is Pax Silica. This is agreed. It's legislation. It's not hidden. It's not an espionage case. Don't be silly Billy. That's the cover. They've already done it. It was done 20 years ago. But with Pax Silica, as we know, which we're not talking about because we're talking about the war, a lot of back ends to this war or to this missile exchange. What we see through the National Defense Authorization Act over and over and over again is the US keeps all intellectual property. The US can pull out at any time. The US dominates. The US will do whatever it damn well pleases. It's right through the document. So what it is, yeah, you're inside. We've got to do a deal. But I have no doubt they've removed a lot of stuff. But the point is, it's so dangerous, obviously. It's so very dangerous to do with national sovereignty. There really obviously needs to be a full investigation. They can't cover this up. But let's get back to this document. Let's try and stay with it. Let's click down here, very easy to click. And if you go down here to Appendix 8, High Court Synopsis. This is how easy it is to click around. I'm very proud of this document. Thank you to the Magical Unicorn. We ended on bad terms, but I was starting to get a little bit peeved with his attitude and his seeming lack of support for anyone that actually did anything on the ground. But regardless, I thank the Magical Unicorn because without him, I was toast. Without him. Toast. So this is Appendix 8. This is his document, really, because this gave me the time. He sent me $20,000 US. I gave nearly half away like an idiot. And he said to me, as someone who's got a lot of contacts, you really need to hunker down in Malaysia. 2020 is going to be wild. Quote. And, when was this? This was July, August 2019. And I managed to be able to go now. I went offline and just did this document at Starbucks in Kuala Lumpur City Centre. Really enjoyed it, actually. 6 weeks it took me. Every day I went down there, drank my 16 cups of coffee and made this document. Click on High Court Synopsis. I actually wrote this part of the document, 600 pages, from Albany Regional Prison, maximum security. And all of these are clickable. All of them. Background of case, my writing on Israeli intelligence activity in Australia and elsewhere. It's brilliantly on when Collins-class submarine. This is from 2012. I wrote this. Thank you, Albany Regional Prison. Now, when we go down, we're going to go down to here. We're heading to page 616. So we'll go to page 609. This is from 2012. Variant Leon Wen, Sydney Rail Transit System false flag incidents. There's the guy that started it all. Telpiot program. He was definitely Telpiot. That's the guy who started my journey way back in 2005. And a couple of people he knew who knew him, who were clearly also Israeli intel out of Unit 200 and Telpiot, warned me about him and warned me. These were Israeli Jews, okay, Australian and American. Australian and American. They were the first to warn me about this in the Israeli press. Always remember that. So, this is from 2012, ladies and gents, and it's killing them, all my detractors. It's just killing them on the record. Oh, another big interview coming up. So when we scroll down here, how elite military schools feeds Israel's tech firms. There's the Telpiot program on the record. On the record. Zohar Zisapel, the Red Dead of the world's telecom industry. On the record. This is the most important document I have ever written. Communication Solutions for Government, RAD website. On the record. This is very important. Twitter predicts personal illnesses 8 days in advance. That's from 2012, a computer magazine I had ordered into the prison. And it shows you how just some undergraduates were keyword searching Twitter posts to predict where illnesses were spreading. That was just the undergraduate program. Now we get down into Israel inside. Israeli companies excel in computer security technology, semiconductors and communications. 2012, ladies and gentlemen. 2012. From jail, we get down to Mark Zuckerberg, all these American Jews, Larry Page, Sergey Brin. And now we're going to get down to the transhumanist Ray Kurzweil. And we're going to go down. This is 2012. And what did I write down here? I just want to rub it in a little. Indulge me. We'll get back to Iran, but it's important. It's really important about that. So that, okay, Israel set to invite US bases. That video from 2020 I made at Hotel Rinconada. Very nice. Thank you. Another Jew who helped me out, who is always dear in my heart. Here we go. Google has a database so large it takes up several acres of servers in a building linked with NASA. They are inputting the entire Earth's book library into their database. With the notion of cloud computing run by Google, people store their data on remote servers instead of their local hard drives, giving Google access to yet another huge volume of data that an intelligence agency can turn into powerful intelligence. With fiber-to-the-node internet connections giving ordinary householders and businesses and corporations lightning-fast access to the World Wide Web. I'm typing this in one-fingered with a badly broken arm. Businesses and corporate lightning-fast access to a World Wide Web, then a quantum computer with highly sophisticated software could conceivably have access to the entire knowledge base of the planet. Some say this is the Antichrist spoken of in the Bible. Sophisticated artificial intelligence programs are already in use that can mimic the human thought process. Forget China. The greatest threat we face is from Israel, who is not only installing its electronic equipment through the world's telephone exchanges, it can draw on its vast SANM network to facilitate access to locations and databases it ordinarily cannot access via its state-controlled companies, not to mention its extensive security contracts with public Class A infrastructure like airports, etc. Keep listening. This is 2012. Imagine a quantum computer developed by Jews in the US, perhaps jointly with Israel, or pretend Russian Jews out of Israel, linked in with the world's databases and the software that enables it to literally predict the future and track and trace every human on the planet. And imagine it in the hands of people who think themselves God's chosen people, with a history of religious and racial supremacism and a religion that promises they will rule the earth from Jerusalem. Don't arrest and charge the messenger. I'm just telling you what they say, think, and plan. Look at what they can do with 4.4 million tweets with a few lines of information. And there's those great series, Human 2.0, brilliant, saw that just before I went to jail, All Watched Over by Machines of Loving Grace, saw that when I got out of jail, one of my favourite docos, Adam Curtis, and AI, a 4-part SBS series I watched in jail but can never find. I want you to just imagine what you wrote, page 616 of my 1,018-page document. This is actually an historical document. I own the subject. I say this not for some bragging rights. My life has been miserable, but thank God, and literally thank God, for the strength to carry on. It was my mission in life. There are big interviews coming up, and it's breaking out everywhere. And I want to be the spokesman, the union rep for all the intelligence community, state and federal policing that were doing their counterintelligence jobs, and they were variously fired, threatened, intimidated, killed, or transferred to Alaska. We have limited time because humans are still in the loop and they love their children too. That's why they want you demoralized. They want you to believe in the US is run by a 6'4" orange clown infatuated with his pee-pee. He runs nothing. This is Pentagon. This is Heritage Foundation. These are Texas billionaires. It's a whole group of people. These are disgruntled, serving and retired military intelligence people. And they have all come together to end this conspiracy. Afterwards, Messiah comes. Messiah comes. I have played my role. I am an ordinary person. I have been courted by high-level people you wouldn't believe, and I'm just sitting there going, can I just be compensated for what you did to me and my broken arm and that ridiculous court case and all the lies, the media reporting, and I'll just go back to my nursing, thanks. That's what I'm thinking. Silly boy. I wouldn't be alive if there weren't good people through the system. I'm here to inspire you, and I want to show all the liars, all the deceivers, all the mockers when it's coming out. Pluto's in Aquarius, baby. It's not stopping. It's going to keep rolling. You'll see me more calm. You'll see me more button-up shirts. You'll see me doing more anti-curse prayers. Now I don't have to blame the Jews. I can blame the Jews, the space lasers, and the witchcraft. It's awesome. I got an excuse for everything now. To cover my laziness. But no, I'm just getting over this flu. But I'm trying to inspire you in some ways. So now we see that that is connected to that. Artificial intelligence, the Bunting Cloverleaf map, and making Israel a regional power. It's not happening, all right? They're not going to build greater Israel. Well, not in the form you think. There may be some federated states version that's going to come from all this. Again, this is a war against the European Union. It's a war against CERN and all that new particle accelerator technology which is tied in with quantum to simulate the universe. Whoever controls that will control the world. It is the nuclear weapon of the age. God bless it. I can't wait. AI is immensely useful. It's also highly dangerous to the point where it's like really dangerous. That's why they've got to be heavy fencing and guardrails put on, and they are talking, but we're going to need more than talk. What I'm afraid of course, is what we saw earlier, Robocop.
It is great to see American machines helping to promote peace and freedom abroad.
All right, you guys, this is a standard on, all right? There's no opposition expected. I'm going to set your markers to code red. All our drones are going to give top priority to your safety. No red assets have ever been lost.
Okay.
Okay?
Does that make you feel better?
But listen, keep those bracelets on. You're completely safe. Okay? Good. Enjoy the show. All right. Let's go.
May peace be upon you. Please exit your homes with your arms raised. For a non-invasive scanning procedure, no one will be harmed. Please exit your homes with your arms raised. For a non-invasive scanning procedure, no one will be harmed. Off the ground,
Scott, get me a shot of this.
your cooperation is appreciated. We apologize for your inconvenience. Off the ground, may peace be upon you.
Incredible. Incredible. Not long ago, that would have been American men and women risking their lives to pacify these people. General, you care to comment on this?
Well, Pat, we had Vietnam, we had Iraq, we had Afghanistan. Never again. From a military perspective, this has been invaluable. We can accomplish our objectives without any loss to American lives, and I think the honest people over there really appreciate it.
And why wouldn't they?
It's a little scary, isn't it? What a great remake. The original was just fantastic. 1988, I was working in Kalgoorlie when I watched that. What a great movie ahead of its time. Really warning Detroit and all the rest, the rebuilding of the old cities. They knew what was coming. But the 2014 remake is pretty good too. It's got a lot of great actors in there. Michael Keaton, you name it. Gary Oldman is in there. Finest actors. So it's a good movie. But I'd say we can prove more and more after seeing that European Union stuff. Mark Carney, Keir Starmer, it's the last gasp. Look, Xi was basically in the bag. Then the EU came along and realized, we're going to get eaten. It's over. And they panic. And Mark Carney's coming around going, we either get a place at the table or on the menu. That London banker clown. Canada, you're going to be absorbed into the United States. I promise you, Western Canada particularly, in time. You're gone. They want the Crown Corporate out. If you speak French, you can go to France and live. But the days of running in the agents through Eastern Canada down into America, the days of running Russian GRU assets and other assets, Eastern Bloc through Israel, and it's over now. And we await the McCarthy trials. We await the McCarthy hearings and I wait for the Hollywood movie rehabilitating Senator Joseph McCarthy. As we go on, this little stuff from March 27, a few days ago, from Axios. Scoop: Rubio, an EU official, had heated exchange on Russia at G7 meeting. It's our party girl, EU Foreign Policy Chief Kharg Kalas asked Secretary of State Marco Rubio when the US would get tough on Russia during a G7 ministers meeting on Friday, sparking a sharp retort. Why it matters, the tense exchange which took place in front of allied foreign ministers was symptomatic of the mutual distrust. But hey, Marco Rubio is actually doing a pretty good job. Mutual distrust between the US and many of its European allies over the war in Ukraine. During a discussion of Ukraine, Kalas, a Russian hawk and former Prime Minister of Estonia. Now, what she really is a hardcore feminist, pill-popping, a bisexual politician who just hates Putin. That's basically it. Criticized the US for not increasing pressure on Moscow, according to the sources. Anyway, it got very heated, apparently, and Marco said, well, you do it then. You fix it up. Anyway, so you've got 20 new boats going through. They were in the bag from day dot. We're going to talk about Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in just a minute. You saw the video.
Mike, are you confident we can find a leader who will make Iran better for the United States to deal with going forward?
No, I'm not confident. It's possible, but by most accounts, it's going to be another hardliner that takes over inside the regime. Maybe that's a good thing ultimately if this person has elements of pragmatism to him, because they might be able to work out a deal for us and then sell it to the hardline elements inside of Iran. So maybe we can work with somebody that's coming down the line.
All right, they're getting ready. Either he will form some sort of with Poshishka, whatever his name is, the moderate, who's good buddies with good old Chatham House boy Zarif, and probably some form of government with him, or they'll just put Ahmadinejad in. He is the logical person, which I've said over and over again, not because I have magical powers, but because I've read and watched everything the guy does. And I watched this hardliner who kept saying, hey, we need to change. We're demographically cursed. We are going to have problems. We've got to do deals. We've got to do this. But he was firm. He was fair. He was compassionate. He sent it, but he didn't muck around too. He'd blow people up in Hungary if you mess with him, but he didn't like the moderates who are just trying so hard to say, look at me, I'm a hardliner. I'm not a softcore bisexual pedophile working for the City of London. I've got a turban. I have a beard. Look at me. Look at me. And of course they try so hard. Ahmadinejad never did that because he didn't have to prove anything. He was smart as a tack and a realist and a pragmatist. Of course, he's the ideal person because he would have made peace with the US and would have said, come and invest. And Israel would have fumed, Bibi and Likud, and watch out, this one is then because the Likud are going to try and kill him. Because Likud hate him, because he would say, let's have investment. We've got a hungry youth demographic. We're smart. A lot have PhDs. Obviously, they're not the level of a US. Well, mind you, some people would say a PhD from the US isn't what it used to be. But they're highly educated youth. They're hungry for investment. They're hungry for work. And the US could get in there and form strong alliances with Iran and not let the European Union in there. And then we asked the question, are you going to free the Europeans? I mean, you want this convergence with Slavs? No, Slavs are a different culture, different people. What you should respect them and the suffering they've gone through, obviously, and help them out. But you need to converge with their natural home, which is Europe, the home of what we would call modern civilization. Also the home of atom bombs and murder and terror and industrial scale slaughter too. Yeah, it's been a dual-edged sword. But fundamentally, that is where the convergence needs to take place, dominated by the US, the Bill of Rights and the US Constitution, and a funny thing called freedom. Okay, you should watch How Europe is Replacing China and the US, Business Beyond. Definitely watch that to get a taste of the panic that's going on. These are the last gasps. They still have some power. I mean, they've got to remove IMEC and ASML from Netherlands and Belgium, or else just make sure the high-tech stuff is done in the United States and they have a secondary research and design. A lot of it's already done in the US. It's not the point. The absolute peak of the research and development of chip production, you've heard it, national security, national security. Putting stuff 100 miles from China. That was the EU, UK City of London plan. Remember, EU, high technology and administration, combined with Russian raw resources, Chinese manufacturing, and there's Israel, another administrative cyberpower sitting in a new homeland for the Jews where they would eventually move all the administration and they would have the highest data links coming down into Israel, which is going to happen now. Now it will be dominated by the United States. Ahmadinejad's letter, I suggest you read it. It's linked below to George Bush. Read it. There's so much I could read in here. This is his letter, the hardliner, letter to George W. Bush, 2005-2006. If billions of dollars spent on security, military campaigns and troop movement were instead spent on investment and assistance for poor countries, promotion of health, combating different diseases, education and improvement of mental and physical fitness, assistance to the victims of natural disasters, creation of employment opportunities and production, development projects and poverty alleviation, establishment of peace, mediation between disputing states and extinguishing the flames of racial, ethnic and other conflicts, where would the world be today? Would not your government and people be justifiably proud? Would not your administration's political and economic standing have been stronger? And I am most sorry to say, would there ever have been a global hatred of the American governments? Isn't it? Boy, he's a real radical, this guy. He's a real radical. If Prophet Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Ishmael, Joseph, or Jesus Christ were with us today, how would they have judged such behavior? Will we be given a role to play in the promised world where justice will become universal and Jesus Christ will be present? Will they even accept us? My basic question is is there no better way to interact with the rest of the world? Today, there are hundreds of millions of Christians, hundreds of millions of Muslims, and millions of people who follow the teachings of Moses. All divine religions share and respect in a world that is monotheism or belief in a single God and no other in the world. And remember, all those Americans, they're all by religious lunatics. What, you mean like Mike Pompeo running around talking about the rapture?
Yeah. Asia, look, I hear former National Security Advisor for President Biden, all the Obama team, they talk about moderates in Iran. I've never seen one. It's just a series of radicals who believe in the return of the 12th Imam. These are not rational Western civilizational believers. They are jihadists with a theocratic bent. And so I hope there's someone there inside of Iran or from the outside who can go back in, who can deliver for the Iranian people a set of leaders that aren't determined to destroy Israel, wipe it off the face of the map, and then harm us here, the great state in the United States.
That's the guy who ran the CIA and the State Department. I like Mikey. Him and Mattis did a good job getting rid of Kissinger. But you want to talk about religious lunatics? The Christian evangelicals? Trump's personal priestess? That clown? That's what I mean. Do they even know what they're talking about, half these clowns they put on?
Iran, these are radical Shiites who want to bring about the apocalypse. That's their entire ideology. Their entire religion is to bring about the last Mahdi so they can, by bringing about the apocalypse. If they got a nuclear weapon, they would use it to bring about the apocalypse. So Donald Trump is stopping them from ever doing that, and history is going to reward him as the first president to take the words of the enemy seriously.
Fox News. We believe a return to the teachings of the divine prophets is the only road leading to salvation. I've been told that Your Excellency, meaning Bush, follows the teachings of Jesus and believes in the divine promise of the rule of the righteous on earth. We also believe that Jesus Christ was one of the great prophets of the Almighty. He has been repeatedly praised in the Quran and has been quoted in Quran as well. And surely Allah is my Lord and Lord therefore serves him. This is the right path, blah, blah, blah. Here is stuff on 9/11. September 11 was a horrendous incident. The killing of innocents is deplorable and appalling in any part of the world. Our government immediately declared its disgust with the perpetrators and offered its condolences to the bereaved and expressed its sympathies. All governments have a duty to protect the lives, property and good standing of their citizens. Reportedly, your government employs extensive security, protection and intelligence systems and even hunts its opponents abroad. September 11 was not a simple operation. Could it be planned and executed without coordination with intelligence and security services or their extensive infiltration? Of course, this is just an educated guess. This is 2005. Why have the various aspects of the attacks been kept secret? Why are we not told who botched their responsibilities, and why aren't those responsible and the guilty parties identified and put on trial? Well, that would mean a lot of Americans and Israelis, but at least former President Ahmadinejad actually asked the question. Of course, he had Holocaust conferences. It could have perhaps been better done. But the point is they hated his guts, collapsed his economy and got rid of him, then refused to let him run ever as he criticized the clerics and by definition, the Ayatollah himself. Their corruption was horrendous, and we're going to talk about him right now. Ahmadinejad's core is a pious nationalist, anti-elite. I'm using Perplexity, all the links. Every single link I've got on Ahmadinejad, Perplexity is the best for research. I know now I can see so many people using it now, but all the links are in a PDF at the bottom of my Substack page and my Patreon. Ahmadinejad's core is a pious nationalist, anti-elite populism, Islamic revolutionary language plus forgotten people, economics and anti-corruption attacks on the clerical establishment, which is structurally similar to Trump's American carnage frame, even though the theology, enemies and policy content differ. That's where you see. I remember thinking, it's like American carnage speech. Sounds like Mohammed Ahmadinejad because he's a real populist nationalist. Let's actually go to the page here. Political philosophy and pious populism. Analysts generally describe him as a principlist and right-wing populist. He fuses sheer revolutionary ideals with Iranian nationalism and presents himself as a humble servant of the poor against corrupt, westernized elite, also his own people. His discourse contends on the people, the mustazafin, the downtrodden or the barefoots, versus an internal mafia of corrupt officials. Does this sound familiar? Justice and redistribution of all wealth, putting the petroleum income on the people's tables, and resistance to a global hegemonic order led by the US and its allies. One detailed study called this pious populism. He wraps standard populist friend-enemy logic and religious vocabulary, repeatedly invoking Imam Mahdi, martyrdom, and Iran as spiritual leader of the Muslim world by promising material uplift to his base. He is personally devout and heavily uses Shia symbolism, but he is not a quietist clerical loyalist. His circle leaned on messianic themes, imminence of the Mahdi, preparing the ground through justice and confrontation with oppression that worried many senior clerics. But why? You're the clerics. What's going on with all your little visits to Chatham House? Reports from the time describe him praying at Jamak's shrine, funding Mahdi-related projects, and suggesting his government had a special role in the end-time struggle, which critics inside the system saw as demagoguery and theological overreach. No, I'd say he's pretty much right, fighting for justice. That's what I mean. Let's fight for justice, make the world a better place. The US can do it. Some clerics accused him of exploiting popular religion to bypass traditional religious. Oh no, he's bypassing the mafia. Think tank analysis argue this millenarianism, populism, empowered security and Revolutionary Guard networks at the expense of the clerical establishment. By his second term, he was in open conflict with parts of the clergy and judiciary. He framed himself as blocked by, quote, hidden hands and mafias, and turned to anti-corruption crusading to deflect criticism of inflation and mismanagement. Well, you can argue mismanagement, but it's hard to get good help. Sounds like the same excuse they give Trump, wouldn't you think? In 2008, Abbas Palazdar, linked to the Parliamentary Research Centre and seen as close to his camp, publicly accused more than 40 senior officials, many powerful clerics, of vast economic corruption, cheap acquisition of factories, kickbacks, lavish lifestyles. This was unprecedented in its directness. 2008. What an interesting year that was. Ahmadinejad then published a long blog article attacking clerics who criticized him, charging that the judiciary denied corruption existed and positioning himself as the only one willing to confront the mafias around the religious establishment. So his anti-clericism is not secularism. I never argued that. I'm just saying he wants to stop the corruption, which is the big one in Iran. It's not, I don't want to wear a headscarf. No, it's the corruption that kills. Everybody knows. I've had enough. It's an intra-regime, intra-Shia attack on specific clerical elites, all at Chatham House, City of London, aren't they all? Or doing their PhDs in Sharia law in Scotland, as corrupt betrayals of the revolution and the people used to shift power towards his own camp and the security state. Comparison to Trump and American carnage. Substance and targets differ, but the underlying rhetoric has strong parallels. And by the way, IA is not going to give you a gift. Input in crap, output crap. You have to put in stuff, how you word it to get the responses. And then you've got to double check the sources because let's make sure it's not Substack. So substance and targets differ, but the underlying rhetoric has strong parallels. People versus the corrupt elite. Trump's inaugural painted an American carnage of abandoned factories and forgotten citizens caused by a corrupt bipartisan establishment. Ahmadinejad relentlessly contrasted the rural-urban poor and war veterans with a rich, entitled, clerical, technocratic class looting the oil wealth. So these are from quotes from all his speeches. The nationalist framing. Trump fused America First nationalism with a promise to restore sovereignty and jobs. Ahmadinejad blended Iranian nationalism with sheer revolutionary destiny, presenting Iran as both national victim and chosen vanguard against the global order. You can see you could intertwine that completely with what I believe the United States is, which is the revolutionary source, to be free. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian. You can't be a Muslim. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't drive from here to Idaho. You can't open a donut shop, as the great Bill Cooper would say. Stylistic populism. Both emphasize personal modesty and authenticity. Trump as the blunt outsider, Ahmadinejad as the poor boy and simple engineer. Attack the media and institutional checks and speak in an accessible, emotive register aimed at lower and middle income audiences. The key differences. Trump's populism is formally secular and civilizational West-orientated. Ahmadinejad's is explicitly Islamic revolutionary and anti-Western in structure, with religion as a central source of legitimacy. Trump targeted globalism, immigration, and foreign trade deals. Ahmadinejad targets Western hegemony, Israel, and internal clerical judicial mafias while defending an assertive nuclear program as a national right. There you go. I'm just giving you an example. You saw the Fox News presenter. I'm on the record 1,000 times and it's killing everybody. They just can't bear it. You can see them snarling and foaming at the mouth and little rat claws coming out. They just hate it. They just hate it. Thank God for lifting curses. Thank God. Head's clear. It's every day. Got a bit sick suddenly, but anyway, I guess these things happen. It's going around. I hope this will begin to show you they were in the bag. In conclusion, they were in the bag before the first bomb was dropped. Or the blah, 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 you should eat the Persian Gulf. It's like we got a new Tehran, Timmy, for God's sake.
Aggression and occupation will yield no result other than the humiliating capture, dismemberment, and disappearance of the aggressors. American commanders and soldiers will become food for the sharks of the Persian Gulf.
Just stop it now. Let's just get Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and start doing the right deals, put the investment into Iran, peace down the whole region. The US bases will go into Israel. They'll become a protectorate of the United States. Mary is on the record as pushing this, and all her flyers disappeared from her computer, coincidentally. Let's actually get those up. These are linked below. This is particular to Mary. She did good, very different to Lee's. Lee's are very busy, but more a youth audience. I like Mary's because it's kind of an older audience, but Lee's are fantastic, of course. But you can print this out. They come up beautifully colored. And let's just get up the other one. These are quite old, actually, but she's on the record. Prime Minister Netanyahu is not part of a right-wing party. He is part of an organised crime syndicate. He conducts espionage against our people, steals our technology and sells it to our enemies. Our tech jobs have been sent to Israel by Kissinger and associates, just as manufacturing was sent to China in the late 1970s. It's time to bring jobs back home and strengthen our national security. These men have sold out our country to Russia and China. Israel is an ally in a strategic area for US interests. If we remain silent on the atrocities committed by Netanyahu and his crew of militant fanatics, we will see more lives lost and risk losing our strategic foothold in the region, opening the door to Russia and China. Israel must remain a protectorate controlled by the United States if there is to be peace in the region and at home. Well. That kind of ties in with that, doesn't it? And Mary's on the record, hence why congressional candidate Mary Silver is completely ignored. No one will interview her. She's completely sane, works hard, professional, with a PhD, I might ask, but no one will interview her except lunatics. So there you go. But she's on the record, which is why they deleted all her flyers off her computer. And she managed to she had to redo old copies. She found an old template on Canva. They deleted them off there as well. So, as you saw from the introduction, this is a war against the EU, City of London. That's fundamentally what it is. China's now, its last gasp was China, as Mark Carney, Keir Starmer raced down there and said, oh, please, stick with us. And a month, 4 weeks, 4 weeks before the attacks began, because they knew what was coming. They knew the Trump administration was going to take out their Iranian Chatham House boy assets. They knew it. It was their last globalist EU, City of London gasp. Their last gasp. Xi's going to be in the bag. They're going to redistribute a lot of the manufacturing of the world. China will still do some. They need to keep China intact. Maybe you're going to work towards so the Chinese can criticize their leaders without having their organs stolen. That would be nice. And of course, Mexico developed and Central and South America, particularly Colombia and Venezuela. And if you are looking for investment opportunities, I'd be definitely checking out Mexico, whether it's industrial, real estate or residential or simple stuff like that, or more sophisticated investments. Colombia and Venezuela will, of course, be booming as well. So will the entire region in time. Unfortunately, a 6'4" vile PP infatuated clown will be getting the credence. He is openly flaunting meme coin drug money laundering. He is extorting Miriam Adelson and a whole bunch of Jews. Chabad Lubavitch is running around picking up the cash and organizing the cash transfers into his accounts, where he can finally say he's actually a billionaire, because he never was before. He was a half-witted clown, failed drug money laundering casino owner, a 40-year veteran of being a rat for the FBI, surrounded by vile, disgusting, yeah, that guy, and so on and so forth. Good riddance to this freaking clown. I wish he'd go sooner. I'd rather look at Peter Thiel's boyfriend, J.D. Vance, than take another look at Trump. But whether you like him or not, I'm kind of chuckling to myself that this huge clown will be the one to have been the figurehead to have brought all this to a head. And if we must admit it, he's a perfect weapon. He's an outsider clown they can just dispense with, like a disposable camera or a tool you can throw away after it's dirty. He's not one of the insiders, and he's actually done a good job as the clown, mad dog. Everyone's saying Trump this, Trump that, as if it matters what Trump thinks. Trump does what he's told. He's just a pain to deal with. And you never quite know what's coming out of his mouth. But for some people, that's good. They want the world to know the US is unstable. That's why everyone got in line so quickly. So quickly. EU knew this was coming. China's getting in line. They're clearly dealing. People keep saying he's talking to himself. My God, I mean, come on, grow up. The European press is pathetic. I mean, it's pathetic. And it's really showing their hide. Oh, America's not in trouble. Oh, they lost one $500 million aircraft. Oh, whoop-de-doo, Lockheed's lining up Raytheon with their radars, going to get another one. I mean, please stop. The way they've presented this as Saudi's on fire, Israel's on fire. No, Iran is completely decimated. All right. And it's going to be in the hands of the United States, just God willing, with the least minimum amount of civilian casualties and what's more, military casualties. They're just good people like everybody else. Just like whether you're Saudis, Arab, Sunni, Lebanese, an Israeli citizen or a pretend Russian Jew, you just want to pay your mortgage, send your kids to college or get them an apprenticeship and have a future and hope they don't get on drugs. And if you're a Jew, you hope your son doesn't marry a Catholic. And we can just go back to being normal people. Messiah comes, Messiah comes. Armageddon comes, Armageddon comes. It will, but it's not coming now. 70 years away. We've got to have a long period of peace and prosperity, and then our generation will slowly begin to click in. And we've got to do a lot of inner work. We need a lot of inner healing. We need to get into all our supplements, all our healthy food, and the more healthy food we have, the less supplements we will need. We need to look at new ways of stimulating economies besides the War Powers Act. They're looking at space exploration. That's just beginning. The AI can be a wonderful tool. Don't run with the crowd. AI is falling apart. It's all a fraud. It's all a fraud. It's just ridiculous. Is there a lot of fraud going on? Yes, but you were talking about the Manhattan Project. This is the atom bomb project. This is real. There will be massive... I know from my productivity how good it is, how much it has helped me personally and professionally. It is a fantastic tool, and this is just the beginning. It gets better and better and better when we Hale-a-Seeps keep inputting into it. The question's going to be is, how is this going to be used against us in the future? That will need to involve an engaged citizenry, won't it? Not just vote once every 4 years, if that, or in the midterms, but actually involve yourself on a daily basis with your community. When you do that, and understand also that as long as we have people in the loop in the system, whether it's a kill chain in the military or whether it's your local CIA or FBI counterintelligence asset, those people have families too. What I'm scared to death of is particularly after this Iran stuff and all the artificial intelligence stuff and all the talk of automated kill systems, it's getting a little worrying, because if you see that technology transferred onto the street as told to us by that great movie Robocop, you need to find a copy. I'll find you a copy. 2014, Public Interest. Sam Jackson's in it. He's great as the Fox News presenter. It's hilarious. If they start introducing that to the streets, well, it's over. It's over. We've got to stop them removing humans from the loop. We've got to stop their little scam by saying, police are corrupt, the courts are corrupt, we need to replace it with AI. No, we need to clean out the corruption. And the people that created the drug trafficking and all the chaos, the corruption, the secondary weapon sales, the drug trade, the militarization of police, the prison industrial complex, those same people will proffer us the solution to all this chaos. We'll use AI and we'll automate systems. Won't that be wonderful? Horrible, corrupt people, and suddenly with a click of the fingers you find, hey, it's all peaceful now. Oh, thank God for all those cameras. Oh, thank God for the AI in the court system. That is the worry. You never remove humans from the loop. That will need legislation and an engaged citizenry. You can stop blaming the damn Jews and start looking at your lazy self. You're lazy. I'm exhausted. Yeah, I'm exhausted too, brother and sister. Me too. I don't have kids. Okay, fine. But you don't, someone said, what were you expecting? Flowers? No, I said I was expecting flyers. It was a great quip. I was very proud of myself. I was expecting flyers. Hand out a flyer, go to a meeting once a month. You can't do that? Oh, I'm so exhausted. Oh, we'll cry. We're going to die. COVID should have woken us all up by now, what they're prepared to do. Yes, we need Kushner gone. We need Chabad out. We need the Siddim dumped in Ukraine. That's coming. Slavs can deal with them. And they want them out of Israel as well. And it will be a secular state. That's what's coming. Am I going to be humble in the future? No. I'm going to rub people's noses in it. I'm on the record, and it can never be taken away. Never. This highly look, there's all the WhatsApp messages from the lawyer. It's all freely available. My passports, everything. My life, my prison record, my criminal, everything. My whole life, no one will touch it. My university record, no one will talk about it. No one will touch it. Nada. But now, as the interviews start coming, big interviews coming up, and we'll start getting Lee interviewed and Mary Silver, slowly but surely, the grind of Pluto is coming into Aquarius. It's like a slow-moving Israeli Defense Force armored bulldozer through the town, but it's knocking down the right buildings this time. They were all constructs of City of London, MI5, MI6, Swiss banking and financial arm, and of course Israel, who created the whole Islamic terror network with the Wahhabis out of Saudi, funding the madrasas, funding that system of Islamic terror. Remember, they had to wind up the Soviet terror. They were incompetent and falling apart. The perestroika deception, thank you, Golitsyn. We'll need to see Golitsyn reformed. We need to see James Angleton reformed a little bit. He made a lot of mistakes, but he was dead on. He was paranoid for a reason, with a known to decrypt, civil master spying. He said they're all through. And what do we have now after all the bagging of James Angleton and the way he handled it? Guess what? Did anything improve after James Angleton was got rid of when he was telling Nixon that Jew boy, quote unquote, Kissinger was betraying him and leaking? And all of them, that's what happens when you hang around the Rockefellers and the rest of them, boom, you're gone. And out they came. Oh, look at this corruption. And Kissinger just walked out smelling like roses. We're going to have a rehash. And what's CIA counterintelligence now? It's the exact same system that James Angleton had in place. Did it get better? No, the spying got worse. And it wasn't until the collapse of the Soviet Union and people started giving lists of all the traitors, and they all got caught. But, you know, James Angleton was gone, and CIA and FBI counterintelligence couldn't catch Jonathan Pollard, who's bragging he's bragging that he works for Israel. He's bragging he takes cocaine. He's walking out with suitcases, but everyone's, oh gosh, well, we missed it. It got worse after Angleton. There's going to have to be huge changes, and we need to discuss it. Otherwise, we go, orange man bad, orange man bad. I'm really tired of Trump derangement syndrome. We know he's a clown. We know he's disgusting. We've got the Aryan Ram Emmanuel show in the background. But it's time to get a little bit more sophisticated and start asking and pushing if you're involved in heritage or you're involved in these different foundations and think tanks and groups. Let's get this orange clown out of here. Let's have him retire. John Hinckley style, I don't care. Just get him out. You know, Melania will have to put up with him. Pay Melania to put up with him. Just get him out now. Let's just put Peter Thiel's boyfriend in and be done with it. So we can all go, oh, thank God I don't have to look at it anymore. All right? Jared Kushner gone. Ivanka gone. Trump's weird, surrounded by pedophiles, whether he's raped kids himself. It's not impossible. I doubt it, but it's absolutely not impossible with a shard of crystal meth and God knows what other drugs they use. Katie Holmes, there's a back end to that, jokes aside. There's a huge back end. And we can't just ignore missing 10-year-olds from the Eastern Bloc trafficked into the United States. I'd like to know where they are, wouldn't you? But these are the geopolitical games that are played. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's end it there. Apologies for taking so long. Everything is going fine, just not in Gaza or the West Bank or southern Lebanon or parts of Iran, obviously. But just remember, the Iranian boats are still just moving out and stopping shipping, trying to get through. They stopped Chinese ships, refused to let them through. Amazing. So it's still all running. Okay. Iran was in the bag before the first bomb dropped. And can we just ask simple questions? Just as Hamas was sitting in 5-star hotels in Qatar, next to the largest US-UK base in the world outside the United States, can we ask the question why it is you were able to just go boom, 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 and just keep killing? How do you do that? How do you go boom, boom, boom and take out 3 top leaders in Hezbollah? Because you created them. And as Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said all those years ago, well, I guess, I don't know how to say in Farsi. I know Khali Mamnoon, but how do you say I told you so in Farsi? Head of Iranian unit, countering Mossad, was Israeli agent, says ex-President Ahmadinejad, 2024. He's been saying that since 2014 on. Completely infiltrated. Now you know why. Now you know how they do what they do. There is no other but the good doctor, Dr. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He'll bring sanity. He'll bring honesty. Just show some respect, America. Put some investment in. Going to drive BB crazy. They're going to form deals. Sunni Islam, Shia Islam, they're not going to be healed anytime soon, but a lot of the tension can be removed and the whole area can begin to develop. Give people something to lose, jobs, and hope. And America, maybe a small apology. Just a small one. That's what we're asking for. One final thing before stopping. I'm going to put a lot of supporting documentation and links, and also these links between Israel and Russia. I just want to really make the point with the clown show that supported Russia and Putin and China and the BRICS, when the whole time they're all working together, obviously. And I want you to have a good look, because this is 8 pages of links, highly detailed, and you can go to those links. Multipolar world order, Primakov doc, lots of good stuff. All Russia teaming up with Israel right in front of everyone's face. But Brian Dawson and Colonel McGregor, all these, we were always against Israel while they were just loving Putin as Putin blew the bejesus out of Syria. Why Russia should take over Israel's defense from America. And that great quote, barring that, Israel could at least have a freer hand to intervene militarily in the Palestinian territories without concern that its main global patron would criticize it on human rights grounds. Putin becomes the most powerful player. His surprising Jewish connection is revealed. Is that still up? I backed up a lot of these, by the way. Let's just see if it's still up. Is it still up? There we go. There we go. Oh, nope, that's gone. I've got rid of that one. Well, I have an emerging alliance, Russia and Israel. KGB infiltrated highest echelons of Israel's army, business and political leadership. KGB's Middle East files, illegals in Israel, that has been disappeared, but I have backed it up for you. These are important links. Oh, they put it back up. Oh my God. They put it back up. Oh, this all looks different though. What's all this? What's with this weird? It is Ynet News. Wow, this is live, ladies. They took the whole thing down. Then I started pushing everywhere. I backed it all up. So I backed up all of the original links here. These are the original articles. Wow, they didn't like that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not my imagination. That's how important that information is. Russian GRU penetration. There is the original articles right there. This you can upload there. They put it back up. They took it all down. So compare them and see if they're the same. It's a 4-part series, which was showing the complete penetration, KGB's Middle East files, illegals or long-term sleepers, Russian agents and assets in Israel and elsewhere. There's lots of really good stuff in there. The age of these little whores, and they are whores who have been taking money. It's just money, people. I don't think you realize how much money's in it. The McGregors of the world. People want to talk about Joe Kent. Joe Kent's just running cover with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, 27 permanent staff. Don Jr.'s on his board. All right. I was beginning to think he really was working for the opposition. No, he's just running cover. Okay. He's also being groomed for a future role post-Trump, as Joe Kent is being groomed for a future role post-Trump. This is how the grooming goes. So they come out and they criticize Trump and they're angry about Israel and they're saying all these things. Then they'll say things like, I guess he's just scared for his family. He's doing his best. See, they're running cover. So you'll make excuses. And that's fine. But you need to understand how this works and how duplicitous that little creepy demon Tucker Carlson really is. I never want to agree with Laura Loomer on everything, but I agree with her on Tucker Carlson. He's a vacuous demon. Joe Kent, as we know, just another Green Beret doing exactly what he's told. We remember we didn't like it when Putin got up and said, just to let you know, the KGB has got their man in the Duma when he became president, and he bragged about it. I don't know if you want the same, or do you want organic people who know how the world works? So we need new education systems, less focus on algebra and art maybe, and more focus on how do people lie to you? What is the real history of the world, of the foundation system of billionaires funding fake crisis actors and manufactured news and so on? Maybe we need more of that. But the good news is, and that's the really good news, Israel set to invite US to move some Middle East bases to the country and establish new ones. As we know from those previous productions where they said we would need an invasion. So hopefully the Marine Corps won't be landing on Kharg Island. That's possible, but I don't think so. I think maybe they should be rerouted up to the beaches of Tel Aviv and that landing take place. Before I end off, I want you to watch this segment from way back in 2020 where I warned about AI, quantum computing, and what needed to happen, the redistribution of the supply chain, and of course, the ultimate invasion, the invasion of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, Bless and protect, Lord, the people of the Middle East and other regions around the world. May Africa finally develop and less starvation and drama, something I've been watching for 55 years. People of Iran be protected, and let's work for peace. Messiah comes, but you worked for peace. Let ordinary, decent, normal people rule the earth. Let's get them educated. Stop lying for money. That would be a good start. Hodafez, Jumpa Legi, Jumpa Nanti, hasta luego. Catch you soon.